What if you played Dying Light 2 without using any inhibitors? No health, no stamina, and basically no skills, all on the game's hardest difficulty. Can you still beat the game with the odds stacked this much against you? Let's find out. Now, I know what you're gonna say, but FP Survivor, the game forces you to get an inhibitor. And you're right, the game does force you to get one. But we're gonna let that slide, because as far as I know, it's impossible to skip picking it up because it's a main mission that's required to complete the game. Plus, the game might totally break if I walk around with level 0 stamina. But don't worry, there will be no more picking up inhibitors from here onward. Due to this, I'm just gonna skip us straight past the prologue and jump right into the open world. You're not missing anything, it's pretty much the default game up until this point. Now dumped straight into the world and able to do whatever the heck I want, I immediately proceed to do some main story missions. Usually I like to do some side quests to get some XP and maybe level up, but it's really not gonna matter in this challenge, or at least not nearly as much as it usually does. You see, whenever you use 3 inhibitors to upgrade your health or stamina in this game, you gain 20 points in those categories, and some skills require you to have a certain amount of points to even let you acquire them. So these 5 skills you see in the upgrade trees right now are going to be my only tools for a very long time. First things first, I head to the bazaar to pick up some side missions to do along the way to help out the survivors. Once we talk to Sophie later on, she'll want us to help other people before letting us continue with the story. So getting them out of the way now will save some time for us later. However, it didn't take long for me to begin to feel the effects of the challenge. No matter who or what we fight in this game, if I get hit just 2 or 3 times, even at this early level, it'll be lights out for me. So since this is a challenge that will be by far more difficult the further that we get into the game, I can tell you already that I'm gonna need a lot of healing items because I don't regenerate health while on nightmare difficulty. I'm pretty sure that eventually enemies will even be able to one-shot me if they have a weapon, so I guess I'll need to enjoy this while I'm able to. Knowing this brand new and very important bit of information, I do as any sensible person would do, and take on one of the hardest combat challenges available at the very beginning of the game. First, I decide to help out old half-assed Hubie and the ball is in your court, and after going through all the containers in the military depot, I'm attacked by a bunch of bandits for the supplies I just gathered. The fight wouldn't have been nearly as bad if there weren't these 2 heavies right here, but well, here we are. Like I just mentioned, if I'm unable to block or dodge the bandits' attacks, I'll die in 1 to 2 hits, so I need to be extremely careful. Especially so because I forgot to stock up on healing supplies before the fight. Luckily in this challenge, I'm allowed to use anything at my disposal, but I still need to get past the fact that they're going to be damage sponges due to the nightmare difficulty. For example, lighting them all on fire and having them just be like, I'm alright. The small fry bandits can easily be disposed of if you have any way to use gravity to your advantage. I actually just sat here for 2 minutes, kicking these guys off the roof of this building until they died. As for the heavies though, I'm pretty much forced to take things extremely slowly and hit them 1 or 2 times before backdashing away. With my stamina being stuck to level 1, I can't so much as kick more than 2 or 3 times without Aiden reeling over, about to pass out from exhaustion. But eventually my patience does pay off and I do take them out, but only after around 15 more shots each with this artifact grade weapon. Let's just say that if this is what I have to look forward to for the whole rest of the game, oh boy.
I'm in danger!
After returning to the bazaar, Sophie tells me to go save Barney, so that's next up on the to-do list. This part is relatively simple if you're not limiting yourself to a specific weapon. All you need to do is kick the zombies off this ledge, and they simply decide to not even try climbing up anymore. In fact, give this guy in particular an Oscar. I mean, just look at how he flew after my wimpy push animation. My man put his entire soul into that performance. After looking for Birdie and realizing Barney ran away, we go attempt to save Susie after she radios saying she and her group have been attacked. The bandits we find there aren't really difficult at all, honestly. The main method to defeat them can simply be the spike barrels located throughout the entire area. All you do is boop them into some spikes, or if you kick them enough, you can perform a takedown that uses pretty much every ounce of your strength to pull off. Honestly, the zombies were the most difficult part here. For whatever reason, their AI was locked on to me and wouldn't let me have even a second to myself to get through the animation of checking the bodies. So I went primitive and used some propane tanks to blow them up. For Jack and Joe's camp, I originally tried to climb to the top of this tower and turn off their electricity so zombies could wipe them out, but by the time I got there, it was already morning, so I'm forced into more manual labor, fighting them each 1 by 1. I was pretty much forced to use the same strategy with the spike barrels, but if not, then I would have had to hit each and every bandit about 10 or more times to take them out. And to be honest, I simply didn't have that many weapons to use against them. But hey, at least I have gravity on my side. If you guys haven't ever done this to a boss enemy, I highly recommend it. Now that I've Yu-Gi-Oh! Obliterated Jack and Joe's camp, I head to Sophie's hideout to make the choice of whether or not to help them out. I didn't know which to pick, so I let chat decide. It would have been so much easier to just go talk to Ader, but all you just love to see me suffer. To be fair, I also love a good fight, so I go in. Link is in the description if you want to help determine just how much I suffer in these challenges. After maneuvering my way to the top of the building, I'm confronted by a bunch of normie enemies, but I just... and Barney sticks his skyscraper with legs at me. He smacks the ground a little too hard and sends us both falling down to the first floor. This, by all means, should have killed us both. Especially since I only have level 1 health and die if a slight breeze hits me wrong. But hey, I won't complain. I also gotta say, this scene always reminds me of that Super Mario Sunshine level where you and the flower monster boss thing fall from like 10 stories before the fight happens. Herman is a bit of a special boss to fight in this game. Aside from a two-handed push with his weapon and a whirlwind attack straight out of our own skill tree, he is pretty much the same as a heavy bandit. The strategy essentially stays the same. Get 1 or 2 hits and get out before he attacks and 1 to 3 shots me. This strategy is really simple in theory, but it's not easy to execute because I have to hit him around 30 times to take him out. About halfway through my first attempt, I got stuck on something and die unfortunately. The first death of the playthrough being about 4 hours into the challenge. The second attempt, however, goes much better. It's kind of cool actually how much you learn from fighting one boss for so long. For example, if you attempt to side dash even once instead of backdash during his attacks, he'll knock your teeth out. But even with a few close calls, after about 5 minutes of constant safe strategy gameplay, I finally take him out and am able to move on to meet Sophie and Barney. You have no idea how hard it was to not pick up this inhibitor, by the way. After telling Sophie to try me, it's time to go take back the water tower from Jack and Joe. This is another decision that I let chat pick for me, so I think you know what I picked. I'm telling you, I might as well be one of those gladiators in an amphitheater fighting lions for your entertainment. But to be fair, this was way too fun of a fight. As for who to give the water over to, while I generally prefer under every circumstance to give it to the survivors, I usually give the first one over to the peacekeepers because I love annihilating Barney. So... oh no, Barney seems to not have liked the fact that I gave the water to the peacekeepers, and now he's attacking me. Seriously though, I'm not sure if it's just my disdain for Barney, but I've come to really get good with my fighting against him. Not only did I not die when fighting him, but it was kind of embarrassing for the guy. I didn't even do anything super special, honestly. Eventually I hit him into this corner and he just could not compete anymore. Now that we've dropped Barney off at the PK daycare, we head to Hakon and attempt to make our way through the sewers to go to the city. I was gonna skip past this since not a whole lot interesting happens, but I feel like it's important to note something. It's easy to go without noticing usually, but your immunity resistance also is a direct result of your overall level. The more you level up your health and stamina, the more you're able to be outside at night. And since my total combined levels comes out to a whopping 2, my immunity lasts for about 13 seconds. I don't even make it through this tunnel system without requiring an immunity booster. But yeah, other than that, the sewers is kind of nothing more than a road bump for us. Even the waves of zombies that come when Hakon steals the GRE key are easy because you can stand on this light over here and kick the zombies before they jump to you. So after getting help from Anderson, I get yoinked by Barney and it's time to put him down to nap permanently. This fight is the exact same fight as earlier, just to the death now, and with 2 other people to worry about. On top of outnumbering me 3-1, they even resort to cheating by hitting me through walls. But that doesn't stop me. Using a combination of everything I've learned, the 3 versus 1 only serves to even out their odds. The single hit dash away strategy, poking them around corners, and even a little of that circus act I did with Jack and Joe contributed to the success of this fight. Oh, can't forget about this. Once it becomes a 1v1 again, the fight is already pretty much over. The thing that makes him a difficult opponent in the first fight is the fact that it's in a very confined space. But once we have room to walk around, Barney is an absolute pushover. I drain the rest of his health with some easy kicks, and the rest is history. Now that Barney is, permanently unalive, we're able to move on to bigger and better things in the city. So I say goodbye to Anderson and thank her for helping me, speedrun saving Hakon from Lawan, and head into the tunnels. Despite the lack of skills and my stats being so low, I had absolutely no issues getting through the car factory and completing Waltz's chase sequence. But my stats do definitely hinder my ability to do something, that being using the paraglider. Let me tell you this, if I didn't know of or use the paraglider kick movement tech, the paraglider would be almost useless to me in this challenge, especially during the night. It's actually kind of sad, really, how fast your stamina drains while using it during the night on Nightmare difficulty. But even if it's terrible, it works just well enough to get me to the substation. Now that we're in the city, the game's difficulty really starts to ramp up. I think at this point the game assumes you are around level 3 to 5, so having a level of 1 like me— Wait, how did FP Survivor level up? No, I didn't cheat, so stop right there. I see you commenting on the video right now. In Dying Light 2, your level is directly tied to how many inhibitors you collect and spend on health and stamina upgrades. But there is a way to level up even without inhibitors, and it's as simple as doing the main story missions. I think you can also do side quests, but I didn't want to make the challenge too easy by running around and doing every single mission I came across, if that was the case. While the fact I'm able to level up may not mean too much right now, it does mean that eventually I'll be able to unlock even more new abilities for myself. The reason for this is because once your character levels up, it gives you a free boost of, I believe, 20 to your health and stamina. So some of you who are extra perceptive may have noticed the change reflected on my health and stamina bars before I even mentioned it. This is great and all, but at the end of the day, it's still a measly 20 health and stamina, however, so I still need to be super careful, because the enemies only get stronger from here. Skipping ahead a little bit after saving the fisheye and dying like 3 times to gravity, we're tasked with finding Ro. He and Lawan say it's best to forget about going to the observatory because it'll, like, kill me and stuff. But Aiden has his own
My way!
moment and decides to go anyway. This does not go well. This time, we're doing things my way. Since enemies have recently began literally beating me within an inch of my life with a single hit, I decided to subject myself to the utter horror that is the Lost Armory quest to get a gun to use as a ranged weapon. So I head to J, or Jai, or whatever the heck, do a bunch of stuff, and eventually am sent to the priceless survivor mission that pits me against a demolisher and about 2,000 zombies after getting rare crystals from the crates. The crates are always the easiest part of this mission, unless there's a chest in this bathroom. If it's there, there's kinda not a whole lot that you can do. But otherwise, all you normally have to do is lead the zombies away, open the crate, get the item, and leave. Then, for whatever reason, you're forced to clear the area before you're allowed to leave with the supplies. I was using a bow at this point in the game to fill the role of a ranged weapon, but it was honestly one of the worst weapons I have used in a long time, so I didn't mention it until now. Even with a full drawback, the bow would take about 10 arrows to the head to kill a normal bandit, so let's just ignore the fact that this thing exists. I will say that in comparison to my guns only video, doing this was a lot easier this time around since I didn't have virals on me at all times. But the main difficulty here is the fact that if you die, every single zombie respawns and the demolisher's health regenerates to full. I really prepared for this fight, even going so far as to make a landmine to chuck at him, though I think I didn't do any damage with it. I used every single arrow I had on him until I couldn't even craft anymore, then started wailing on him with a baseball bat that I had lying around. I would say his most deadly attack was the ground slam earthbending thing that he does. Not only would it hit me to essentially 1 HP, but it would also knock me prone so any random zombie or spitter could walk by to finish the job. But finally, after around 20 minutes, I managed to take him out and complete the priceless quest without dying even, twice. I give the crystals over to Delta, talk to this guy, get betrayed by this guy, and then it's time to go take on Tackhead. This is where I got stuck. As we've established multiple times at this point, every single one of these bandits can bring me to 1 HP with a single hit, except Tackhead. He one-shots me. In this fight, there was absolutely nowhere to hide. I often couldn't even get a heal off properly because of the fact that they throw crap at me. I almost had this fight nailed on my first try, but I hadn't been hit by Tackhead yet to know that he instant kills me. So I was a little too over-aggressive and ran out of stamina, not allowing me to backdash and get away from his attack. Then I fell headfirst into a death pit. Over and over again, I died to these guys, and each time I died, I would have less materials to use for the next attempt, since you don't get your stuff back when you die. The more I tried and failed, the harder it became for me to win. I ran out of bandages first, then weapons to use to fight with. I tried to leave the area to go get more, but once you're in here, you're locked in until you complete it. So how was I going to win? At the point of the video I'm showing on screen right now, I had been fighting these guys for over an hour. I had died 15 times and was completely out of everything to use. My only saving grace I got each attempt was this chest restocking its weapon and its single level 1 bandage it contained. After trying for so long, there was practically no chance I could get a flawless win because I was fatigued and had been playing for multiple hours before this. So I had to find another way. Remember earlier when we completed the priceless survivor mission? Well, it gave me a pilgrim chest for completing it. A pilgrim chest has a chance of giving you anything, from a good weapon to some throwables to some good healing items. Long story short, it's pretty much a gacha machine that could hold the key to success in this mission. So I crossed my fingers and pulled the trigger. Alright! Pretty much everything here is insanely good. The Gravedigger will be super handy later and can be used for other fights down the line. The military medkits are a near instant way to regain health as opposed to the bandages taking a full 4 seconds to apply, and the max level remote C4 could be what we need to succeed. Let me just equip it and throw it at them, and then we can see how much damage it does to the... Okay, let's try again, but from way back here this time. Jeez! I'm finally free. Now I have access to this single pistol. Thanks, Jay, or Jai. Seriously, after what I went through, I deserve a pack-a-punched thunder gun for my troubles. Now that the guns are unlocked, I follow the siren call of the compact SMG and attempted another survivor quest to get enough points to level up and unlock the gun. The mission I attempted was Toxic Work Environment, and it was pretty much just tedious to complete. At least it was in comparison to what I just went through to get the pistol. With one final life and after about 30 minutes, I managed to take out Poison Alice and secured myself an exotic police stick, and the SMG itself. Yay! Now literally armed with a brand new SMG, I proceed to continue with the main story. At this point in the playthrough, I've done enough missions to passively level up to level 3, earning myself enough of a boost to my stamina and health to get some new skills. I'm pretty much down to get anything, but the one skill you'll never see me get in this challenge is the dart skill, because I have enough of an issue keeping my stamina as is. If I accidentally use dart, I'd only be able to sprint for about 3 seconds before becoming exhausted. I did also accidentally pick up an inhibitor when looting one of the GRE crates, but it wasn't enough to level up with, so the challenge is still good to go. So let's get back to the story. Now back on track for the rest of the playthrough, I go find Juan at the canteen and eventually am sent to deal with what's supposed to be our very first demolisher. I enlist the help of the local wildlife to help me in my fight, but they only get him down to here on his health bar, when obviously we've got to get him all the way down here. So after beating him up with a random two-handed weapon I found laying around until he was half health, I remembered that I can literally bring out the big guns. So... the rest of these zombies in the area kinda take care of themselves. And then we can move on, until having to fight yet another demolisher on top of this stupidly tall building. I haven't mentioned it until now, but getting to the tops of these buildings for missions is usually way easier to do when you can actually use the paraglider. The fight itself is actually pretty difficult, mostly because you have to dodge toxic mortars while also avoiding this thing. But again, luckily for me, I suffered earlier, so I don't have to suffer now. The entire reason we're fighting these demolishers is to find UV bulbs to make our delve into the VNC tower easier. Though the mission broadcast is awesome and very aesthetically pleasing, and is honestly probably my favorite mission in this game, it's not all that challenging even with our lowered stats, since you can kinda just run past everything. So I'll speed through them as fast as I can. First, we have to save this guy, but he's stuck behind a bunch of volatiles. Wow, that was easy. Then we're ambushed by exploders, the whole team dying, and I run to the top of the tower after obtaining the grappling hook and all the first aid kits along the way. Then I give the tower to Frank. Now that we've hit Act 3, the rest of the game pretty much flies by. But before anything, there's a few things I need to make sure to do. First, now that I've acquired the grappling hook, I make sure to get it to level 2. It wouldn't have made much sense to upgrade the paraglider, but with the additional velocity that level 2 gives you for the grappling hook, I can use it in a way that allows me to catapult myself up the sides of buildings and launch myself off the ground high enough to open the paraglider. Next, the broadcast mission gave me enough XP to level up to 4 and upgrade my stamina and health to 160 and get access to even more skills. With that out of the way, I make my way to another antenna to turn it on and overhear them talking about how Waltz might show up at these random office buildings. I gotta mention this, but before I found out that information, I had to take out these bandits, and now that I'm finally level 4, I was able to get the block projectile perk. Oh my gosh, this makes my life so much easier. The bowmen in this game are awful. But enough of that. I've got to hurry to these office buildings where I might find Waltz. So I come in and pretty much instantly die. But luckily enough, even if you do perish here, Aiden just resurrects and goes volatile mode. You'd think I'd be done fighting for a few minutes after that just happened, but Frank teleports to my side seconds later and is just like,
"Are you sure about that?"
telling me pretty much that Hakon challenged me to a rumble at the old church. This goes about as you'd expect. Here's a few highlights. Don't worry guys, he's okay. Told ya. With Hakon on our side again, we go track down Veronica to get into the observatory and learn a bit more about Mia. I'm skipping past a giant portion of this because for the most part, nothing new happens in regards to the challenge. That is, at least, until we get to our first boss encounter with Waltz. You'd think I'd be panicking. How on earth am I going to take on the Waltz? He's the big bad boss of this game, and I'm sitting here at level 1 health and stamina. What happens after that? Well, we get absolutely blown up, but we're okay because plot armor. Ladies and gentlemen, we're in the end game now. After calling the gang together in hopes to persuade the colonel to not, kill everyone with a missile, Frank gets shot by a poison-tipped arrow and I've got to make a quick trip to the witch doctor to get him some medicine. Since my stamina is so low, any of the timed missions or chase sequences we've encountered have been pretty difficult to complete in time. But now that I have the upgraded grappling hook, we have a slightly easier time. Frank survives, if not barely, and I chase down the truck to begin the epilogue. Every single renegade we encounter along the way are the toughest they've ever been. Most annoying of the bunch are the firebenders. Everyone else you're able to handle to a certain degree, but I feel like you're going to take burn damage against these guys no matter what you do. Thanks to the VNC tower, I have a ton of military first aid kits, so healing isn't an issue right now. But obviously, I don't want to be using these on these small fry enemies. Thanks to the gravedigger shovel I just got earlier, I can make quick work out of some of them, but the heavies are still a bit of an issue if you don't have spikes around. After our little ride to the renegade base, I'm tasked with finding the colonel, and if you've watched my videos before, you know I love just flying in there like Batman without anyone noticing I'm here. But that's not quite possible with a grand total of 3 stamina. So I do the next best thing and just sprint past them all. As long as you're able to get to these doors alive, you can entirely ignore everyone else that was in your way. I end up siding with the colonel since I don't want the Jack Mat ending, and Jack is not happy about that. But since I reformed the Night Runners, he ends up just running away. I promise one of these days I'm going to fight these guys. Jack Mat's out of the picture now, and it's time to focus entirely on Waltz. The entire X-13 mission objective may as well be changed to just don't die, since I deal with him the same way I've been doing the whole time. And once we get to him, it's time to take on the big bad himself. We're still one level lower than what the game expects us to be minimum at this point, but I made sure to stock up and be super prepared for this fight. I even made sure to modify my best weapons, which I usually don't bother with doing since it's just a hassle to keep up with in this game. I start the fight off with an exploratory shot with my bow and arrow to see how much damage it does. Nope. Okay, well, back to the shovel for me. Even with the shovel, each hit barely does anything to the guy. I can already tell that I'm going to be in for a long fight. Once I bring out my police baton, I start doing better damage, but I still have to dodge his attacks. At this point in the fight, I still don't know how much damage he'll do if he hits me. Oh. Well, I guess that answers that question. I don't think he'll be able to instant kill me with every attack, but I need to be very careful with that line attack, keeping my distance and being patient. After getting the hang of his patterns once more, I had no issues bringing him down and starting the next phase. I don't know why, but his second phase is always the easiest for me. For whatever reason, I almost always have the easiest time dodging his sprinting attack. Maybe it's due to the free time you have in between each attack since he just runs away like that. But I end up getting through this one on my first try. And now for the hardest, Phase 3. We are technically here during the night right now, so that pretty much means the paraglider is off limits. If I fall off one of these platforms while fighting, I'll take an incredible amount of damage. To start off the battle, I immediately proceed to dodge into his attack. In my defense, how on earth was I supposed to know that he would 5-head predict me where I was going to dash to? Like, what the heck, man? Okay, let's try this again. Since he actually leapt at me this time, I was able to dodge it properly and smack him around a few times. I noticed that if you stay really close to him, he seems to do this leap attack far less often, which is important because I'd rather deal with his multi-swing attack than his instant kill leaping one. Thanks to my baton though, after bashing him a few times, he leaps to the next platform each time pretty quickly. There are some close calls, but I finally managed to get him to his final platform, where if you get his health low enough, you go volatile mode and can one-shot him to the final phase. The final phase can be extremely hard if you don't know what to do, since you are unable to heal if you take too much damage. But I devised a strategy that makes it pretty much impossible to lose here if you do it correctly. All you have to do is dodge his leap attack to the left or right when it's close to this container, and then just wail on him. He'll get stun locked, and you can get hit after hit on him before he can get out. I didn't even do the technique correctly here, and it still worked. And with that, everyone, we have officially beaten Dying Light 2 with no inhibitors. I did get the hack-on ending, so I'll just let that play out as I speak. But this challenge was an extremely interesting one. With so many other challenges I've done on this channel up to this point, they're usually challenging at the very beginning and get easier as you progress since you unlock new skills. But with this challenge, it's the exact opposite. You're expected to not have many skills or points into stamina and health at the beginning, but the further that you get into the game, the more it punishes you for not having those at your disposal. That being said, this was still a ton of fun, and I definitely would recommend you give it a shot if you're a fan of the combat and mechanics, but don't necessarily enjoy running around searching for inhibitors the whole playthrough. If you watched this point and liked the video, you'll definitely love my other challenges, so please consider subscribing. Special thanks to all my members and subscribers. Your support means everything to me. Happy 10th anniversary, Dying Light. Good night, and good luck, everyone.